Silver investors are missing the biggest opportunity of the year. Sawyer Silver Valet. Stop. Just stop whatever you are doing right now. Put down your coffee. Close your trading screens for just 60 seconds. Because something just happened in the Bitcoin market that I have only seen 3 times in the last 7 years. And every single time before this, it led to a violent, life-changing move within 48 hours. The mainstream financial media will not tell you about this until it is already too late. The talking heads on television are still discussing interest rates and bond yields like it is 1995. But underneath the surface, underneath the calm, underneath the boredom that has put so many traders to sleep, a monster is waking up. And if you are holding silver, if you are holding gold, if you are holding cash, if you are holding anything that is not Bitcoin right now, you need to hear this as if your financial future depends on it, because it might. Let me hit you with the raw numbers first. In the last 4 hours alone, Bitcoin has surged nearly 5.5%. We just broke through a resistance level that has rejected price action not once, not twice, but 5 separate times over the past 3 months. Over $140 million in short positions have been liquidated in a single candle. That is not a market move. That is a market ambush. The funding rate on perpetual swaps has gone from negative to aggressively positive in less time than it takes to watch a movie. And the order book depth on the largest exchanges is showing a wall of buy orders that stretches all the way down to the previous support level like a safety net made of steel. The last time I saw order book structure like this was right before the October 2023 rally that nobody believed, and we all know how that story ended. But here is what scares me. Here is what keeps me up at night even as I record this for you. The volume behind this move is not retail volume. Retail traders are still shorting. They are still looking for a pullback. They are still posting charts on social media about head and shoulders patterns and death crosses. The volume behind this move is institutional. It is chunky. It is patient. It is the kind of buying that doesn't care about 10% dips because it is looking at a 10-year horizon. We are watching a stealth accumulation phase happen in broad daylight, while most of the market is distracted by silver breaking $30 and gold flirting with all-time highs. And do not get me wrong, I love silver. This channel is named after silver. But silver is a shield. Bitcoin is a sword. And right now, that sword is being sharpened. Let me walk you through the timeline because this is where it gets truly suspenseful. 23 hours ago, Bitcoin was drifting sideways. Volatility was collapsing. Open interest was flat. Everyone was complaining about how boring crypto had become. The sentiment on crypto Twitter was at a 3-month low. People were actually saying, and I quote, "Bitcoin is dead again." That is the exact phrase that has preceded every major rally in the last 4 years. Then, without warning, at 2 a.m. Eastern Time, when liquidity was thin and the Europeans were just waking up, a single wallet moved over 3,000 Bitcoin from cold storage to a hot wallet. Within 20 minutes, that same Bitcoin was distributed across 17 different accumulation addresses. That is not a trader. That is not a hedge fund. That is a player. A player who has done this before. A player who does not make mistakes. 30 minutes later, the spot ETFs started seeing unusual volume, not the usual drip of institutional buying. This was a fire hose. BlackRock's IBIT alone saw over $200 million in inflows in a single hour. That is more than most ETFs see in a month. Fidelity followed. ARK followed. Even Grayscale, which has been bleeding assets for months, saw net inflows for the first time since January. Someone is loading the boat, and they are loading it fast. The on-chain data shows that wallets with between 1,000 and 10,000 Bitcoin what we call the shark cohort, have increased their holdings by over 40,000 Bitcoin in the last 7 days. That is $2 billion of accumulation happening quietly, while the news cycle screamed about everything except Bitcoin. Now, let me tell you why this matters to you personally. Because the psychology of this market is about to shift in a way that punishes hesitation. Right now, we are in what smart traders call the disbelief stage. Price is moving up, but nobody believes it. Shorts are getting crushed, but they keep reshorting because they think this is a head fake. Retail is watching from the sidelines with cash on hand, waiting for a dip back to 50,000 that is never coming. And that is exactly when the market does the most damage. It does not crash when everyone is scared. It crashes when everyone is comfortable. It rallies when everyone is doubtful. And right now, doubt is the dominant emotion. That means the fuel tank for this move is still full. Let me give you 3 scenarios, each more urgent than the last. Scenario 1, the most likely, is that this move continues slowly and painfully upward, grinding through every resistance level like a glacier carving a canyon. Every time it pulls back 2%, it rallies 3%. Every time someone calls a top, price moves higher. This scenario lasts weeks. It breaks spirits. It forces sidelined investors to chase. And by the time they finally buy, the easy money has already been made. Scenario 2, the volatile scenario, is a short squeeze of historic proportions. The short interest on Bitcoin futures is at a 3-month high. If price pushes just another 3% higher from here, it triggers a cascade of automated liquidations that could send Bitcoin up 10% in a single hour. I have seen this happen. It is violent, it is beautiful, and it destroys anyone who bet against the trend. Scenario 3 is the black swan, a sudden regulatory shock or a geopolitical event that sends all risk assets lower. I would be irresponsible not to mention it. But here is the thing about black swans. They are unpredictable by definition. And the data we have right now, the order flow, the whale accumulation, the ETF inflows, the funding rates, all of it points away from fear and toward accumulation. The market is telling a story. And that story is not about a crash. That story is about a breakout. But let me talk about silver specifically, because I know that is why many of you are here. Silver is having a beautiful year. It is up, it is breaking hearts, and making dreams come true. The industrial demand story is real. The supply deficits are real. The monetary premium is real. I am not here to tell you to sell your silver. That would be stupid. What I am telling you is that the capital flows entering Bitcoin right now are coming from the same places that used to flow exclusively into precious metals. The macro hedge funds, the family offices, the ultra-high net worth individuals who are terrified of dollar debasement. They are not choosing between silver and Bitcoin. They are buying both. But the velocity of their Bitcoin buying is accelerating faster than their silver buying. And that velocity differential is the signal that something bigger is happening. Let me read you something that just crossed the wire. The Federal Reserve's balance sheet, after months of quantitative tightening, just stopped shrinking. The data is clear. The Fed is quietly ending QT without announcing it. That means the spigot of liquidity is about to turn back on. And when that spigot turns on, the first place that liquidity goes is not stocks, not bonds. It goes into assets with fixed supplies, assets that cannot be printed, assets that exist outside the traditional financial system. Bitcoin is the fastest, most liquid, most portable version of that trade. Gold and silver are slower. They are harder to move. They are harder to hide. In a world where capital wants to move at the speed of light, Bitcoin is the vehicle. And the wealthy understand this, even if they don't say it out loud. I want you to look at the chart right now, even if you do not have one open. Imagine a spring being compressed for months. Every rejection from resistance was another turn of the screw. Every boring sideways day was more pressure building underneath. That spring does not uncoil slowly. It explodes. And we are watching the first few milliseconds of that explosion right now. The question is not whether Bitcoin will go higher. The question is whether you will be positioned when the spring fully releases. Because once it does, once the mainstream media wakes up and starts running headlines about Bitcoin hitting new highs, once your coworkers start asking you about crypto at the water cooler, the opportunity for life-changing entries will be gone. It will be replaced by the opportunity for good entries. And good entries are not the same as great entries. Let me give you some actionable intel right now, because I am not here to just scare you. I am here to prepare you. Watch the 72-hour moving average on the 4-hour chart. As long as price stays above that line, the trend is your friend. Watch the open interest. If it continues to rise alongside price, that is confirmation. If it starts dropping while price rises, that is a warning. Watch the stablecoin supply on exchanges. It just hit a 6-month low, meaning dry powder is being deployed. That is bullish. Watch the basis between futures and spot. It is widening, which means smart money is willing to pay a premium for leverage. That is also bullish. The signals are flashing green, not yellow. Not red. Green. But here is the emotional truth that nobody wants to talk about. Most of you will not act on this information. Not because you are lazy. Not because you are stupid. Because your brain is wired to avoid regret, more than it is wired to seek gain. The pain of buying and watching price drop 20% is greater than the pain of not buying and watching price double. That is human nature. That is what the market preys on. And the only cure is discipline. Discipline to follow the data instead of your feelings. Discipline to execute when the signal is clear instead of waiting for perfect clarity that never comes. I am giving you the signal right now. The signal is clear. Let me fast forward 6 months. It is December. Bitcoin is trading at a level that seems unbelievable from today's perspective. The halving is in the rearview mirror. The ETFs have absorbed billions more in assets. The election is over, and regardless of who won, the debt spiral continues. Inflation is sticky. The Fed has cut rates not because they want to, but because they have to. Your silver is up. That is good. But your Bitcoin is up more. And you are sitting there, scrolling through old videos on this channel, and you come across this one. And you realize that you were warned. You were given the roadmap, and you either took action or you did not. That moment is coming. It is unavoidable. The only question is which side of that memory you will be on. I am going to leave you with one final urgent update before I close. In the last 30 minutes, a transfer of over 12,000 Bitcoin moved from an exchange wallet to an unknown custodial wallet. That is not trading. That is not market making. That is custody. That is someone saying, I do not want these coins on an exchange where they can be borrowed against, or lent out or used for short selling. I want these coins in cold storage where they belong. That is the most bullish behavior there is. It is the opposite of selling. It is conviction. The market is speaking. The whales are accumulating. The shorts are trapped. The Fed is pivoting. The global debt clock is spinning. And Bitcoin is doing what Bitcoin has always done. It is rewarding the patient. It is punishing the fearful. It is transferring wealth from the impatient to the disciplined. The only question that remains is a question only you can answer. Are you ready to receive that transfer, or will you be the one sending it? For more amazing videos like this, subscribe to our channel Sawyer Silver Valet News.